I should bring you a chair because I'm the chairman, right? Okay, so let's start. So it's a great pleasure to start this morning's session with John Pardon, who will give the second lecture of the series. And I guess I gather today it's called Sheaves and Wrapped Fukaya Categories of Codecadent.
Thank you very much. Like so many of the talks at this conference and so much of the subject, what I'm going to talk about really has its origins in work of Fukaya. And specifically today, in his work on family Floer homology. Later, so this was later, then he developed it further with Seidel and Smith, and simultaneously with work of Nadler and Zaslow in the case of cotangent bundles. And that's the case I'm going to focus on today. So, what is the basic connection between categories of cotangent bundles and sheaves? So, given any Lagrangian L inside cotangent bundle, you can get sheaf on the base space M by taking family Floer homology with the fibers. So L maps to the sheaf whose stalk at a given point P is some flavor of the homology between L and fiber at P. Okay, so there are a few different ways of making this more precise. Certainly, if the Lagrangian is compact, then it's clear you get a local system here. In fact, a derived local system if you do this at the chain level. For non-compact Lagrangians, the story is a little bit more complicated. So there's this Nadler Zaslow correspondence, which says that in the case, if you look at the infinitesimally wrapped category of cotangent bundle, this functor above gives an equivalence with destructible sheaves. So what I want to do is talk about is a version of this in the wrapped context. So this is work with Shogunantra and Vivek Shende. So,
sorry, John.
Yes.
I know this is not your job.
Yeah.
This already came out. Could you give a precise statement? So here, M is real analytic.
Yeah.
And what are the conditions for the branches and liquidity and so on?
Okay, Nadler and Zaslow put some really weak conditions at infinity, which is not clear whether it's, I don't know what but say M is real analytic and say, Maybe I can give a statement with your mic.
Legendre and infinitive should be real analytic.
Sorry?
The Legendre and infinitive should be real analytic.
Yes, certainly if they're cylindrical near, well, okay, cylindrical near infinity, but not real. Yeah, say cylindrical infinity asymptotic to a real smooth real analytic Legendre. Then that should give you enough. So right, I'll at least give a precise statement of this thing. So M real analytic lambda inside cotangent bundle. This is subanalytic closed isotropic. That looks good. So then there's an equivalence between category of E star M stopped along lambda op perf with category of sheaves on M, singular support along lambda, and compact objects in that category. I see we're down to 2 markers here.
No, there's no problem.
Oh, okay. Okay, so let me define some of the terms here. So first, let's talk about perf. Okay, so if you have general categorical construction, you start with any A infinity category, you can consider the category of twisted complexes of C. This is like the passage from abelian groups to chain complexes, bounded chain complexes of abelian groups. This is the category of chain complexes built out of finite limiting objects of C. Similarly, you can do this operation, passing to independent completion, joining all formal direct summands of C, splitting all idempotents. And perf is the composite of these. So perf C is I. Okay, what about singular support? Singular support. So for any F, a sheaf on M, there's a subset, singular support of F, that's a subset of the cotangent bundle. And let me just give you a key property that this satisfies, which is that, I suppose you have F from M to R, then we consider when is this map. So we look at, say, A less than B. When's the map from homology, the sublevel set, restricting to an isomorphism. When is the restriction map an isomorphism? When is this restriction map an isomorphism? So between the level set, sublevel set for A and a sublevel set for B. So this is an isomorphism if dF intersected with a singular support F over this interval B is empty. So just as an example, suppose U inside M is an open set with smooth boundary. There's the constant sheaf on U. ask what is its singular support? Well, if I have my open set U, you can imagine if I have a function whose sublevel set looks like this, and I take the cohomology, and if I perturb the sublevel set a little bit, the cohomology stays the same. Somehow, there's this critical times when the sublevel set, the boundary of the sublevel set is tangent to my open set, and that's when the cohomology is going to change. So if you think about what this says, that means the singular support should be the conormal of U. In fact, if you think about it carefully enough, it's either the outward conormal or the inward conormal, depending on whether I mean the lower streak or the lower stuck. Sorry? Oh. So it's U sort of inside the zero section union with the conormal of its boundary. So I'll just write that as n star U. Okay, so right, so singular support sheaves lambda sub lambda n just means the full subcategory of singular supports inside them. So finally, let me define compact objects. So
what did you say the singular support is in?
Right, so the singular support is a subset of the cotangent bundle. There, I say it's so the boundary infinity of this singular support is contained in lambda.
And the zero section.
Yes, and well, the boundary, SS infinity is contained in lambda. Right, compact objects. So suppose, so C, so we're in a sort of pre-triangulated co-complete category. That means you can take arbitrary direct sums, arbitrary colimits, arbitrary homotopy colimits, arbitrary cones. So the X is called compact. And only a few equivalent formulations. One is that it commutes. So Homs from X commutes with infinite direct sums. And then I can write the same condition except instead of direct sum, I take a colimit or a colimit, or a direct limit is equivalent. Maybe I'll just write one of these. Right, so you should think of somehow this is a finite condition, so finiteness condition. So if we think maybe in terms of like the non-derived analog of this definition, say in abelian groups, compact object is just a finite, well, finite rank guys are compact. And why is that? Well, if X is finite rank abelian group, and you map it to an infinite direct sum, well, if it's finite rank, you take finitely many generators, they're sent to, the things they're sent to involve only finitely many of these alphas. So you're in the image of this. I'm going to make this equivalence a little bit more. Let me do some examples. And in particular, let's see why compact objects is the right thing to consider. So first, it's the case when lambda is the empty set. So sheaves with singular support in the empty set, this is the same thing as local systems, derived local systems. So this is modules over chains on space loop space M.
What do you mean zero section?
Right. So yeah. When I'm only ever going to talk about the singular support in infinity. Great. And the route right category. Okay, it's generated by cotangent fiber, whose endomorphisms are chains on the big loop space. So this is, if I take perf, this is perf of chains on the big loop space. So this is Z. Okay, and it's simply a general fact that perf C is the compact object of mod C. You see in this example, right, the compact objects are not just the finite rank guys. The free module of rank 1 is definitely not. Is not finite rank over it. Stocks are not finite rank. Okay, so what else? What else can we say about this factor? So, given that this is an equivalence, and given this description, you can actually say where it sends the fibers to. So let's define, just call it ST lambda sub P. This is in sheaves lambda M, be defined by what's the co-representative of of the stock at P. So the HOM from T lambda P to a given sheaf is by definition the stock at P. So this is so P is an M, right? And just for convenience, let's assume that the cosphere at P doesn't intersect lambda. So we don't have any questions about what it means to make the stock. Of course, it's well defined. In any event, so claim this equivalence over here. So I'll denote this equivalence. I guess I don't do the computation for it, but let me just write it here. So I'll call this L maps to F sub L. F sub L is defined by this formula. Claim is that the sheaf associated to the cotangent fiber is this representative of the co-representative of the stock factor. So these guys exist by some general ground representability for this category. Great. So in the prime category from say L to T star PM, this is by definition this is the stock of FL at P. That's the definition of the sheaf. On the other hand, if this functor is indeed an equivalence, and if it's fully faithful, then this should also be HOM from F sub sheaf associated to the fiber to the sheaf associated to L. And now if you look at this equality, that's exactly telling you that this is a co-representative of the stock. Okay, so let's investigate what is this. What does this equivalence do to? How does this interact with push forward functors? So let's say U inside M. Give it a maps. So there's a map from here to here. You can push forward on the route category, just push forward your Lagrangian and grab more. Now this equivalence tells me that there should be a corresponding functor on sheaves. Of course, the functor you'd naturally write down here. Right, let's just do empty singular support for now. The natural functor you'd write down here is restriction. So that's not even in the correct direction. So let's see what is the functor we want. Well,
Sorry, this is the very first stupid questions. W or T star U?
T star. So M can be non-compact. It's a sort of increasing union of Liouville sectors, and so.
So this is Liouville's.
It's an in Liouville sector, an increasing union of Liouville sectors. So it has a well-defined graph category.
Okay.
Right. So, so how can we figure out what the corresponding map on sheaves is? So we know what this does, at least. Obviously, this maps fibers to fibers. So if this equivalent is the way it is, the corresponding map on sheaves should send co-representatives of the stock functors to that. So this functor, whatever it is, I'll call it maybe wrapping. So wrapping stock functor, I guess I should say U comma P is stock functor M comma P. So what does this say? From wrapping is from M, F, that's just F. So P, this is right. On the other hand, stocks commute with restriction. So this is also from stock functor. Co-representative stocks in the category of sheaves on U to the restriction of F. So J upper star. Oh, wait, so if we look at this, we see that at least on these particular sheaves, wrapping is the left adjoint of pullback. So note that the left adjoint of pullback on these categories of sheaves with no singular support is not simply just the usual lower streak, because if you lower streak a sheaf on U to M, it'll have singular support along the boundary of U. So it's somehow, you should think of it as do the lower streak and then wrap the sheaf appropriately. Okay, and the other comment is that this functor restriction, it's continuous and co-continuous, and hence it has both adjoints. So this left adjoint wrapping is the left adjoint of the left adjoint, and hence it preserves compact objects. So,
Can you break down what you just said?
Sorry?
So can you break down what you just said?
Yeah, so J star is continuous and co-continuous. And these categories are complete and co-complete. So those are adjoints. joints, say, well, I can't call them lower star and lower street because that would mean somehow the usual thing on sheaves, so maybe I can call it J, wrapping star, wrapping street. So this implies that this guide preserves compact objects. Oh, and in fact, to prove this, the theorem that I just erased, you need to give this a priori construction of the corresponding functors on the sheet side.
So what is it if you use like just a small contractible open ball or something?
What is this functor?
What's the, I mean,
Yeah, it's somehow, well, it's tensoring.
I mean, isn't that sheaves with empty set?
Yeah,
Isn't that just some kind of trivial category vector space?
for you the ball. Yeah, if you use the ball, yeah.
So that means that there should be some kind of canonical compact object of sheaves on the end.
Yeah, it's the free module of rank 1 when you think of sheaves as modules over this, of chains on the base loop space. And it's also just this stock co-representative. Okay, so let me explain a little bit about the proof outline. Proof. Okay, so we saw last time that there's this stock removal functor, and in fact we know what it is. So this functor, where I have an inclusion like this. This is categorical quotient by the linking disks to lambda prime minus lambda. And there is a corresponding statement on the sheaf side. So sheaves lambda prime. And it's exactly the same statement. This is quotient by what? It's a quotient now by co-representatives of the microstock functors. Along lambda prime minus lambda. Okay, so both the microstock functors and these linking disks, they're only defined at the smooth Legendrian points of this semi. Okay, but that's somehow you shouldn't be too worried about that, because both on the chi side and on the sheaf side, there's this general principle that if you're isotropic of a smaller dimension than Legendrian, then you somehow don't map it. The category doesn't see that. Okay.
Can I ask your remark?
Yeah.
So I just want to contradict a little bit about not being too worried about that. In the sense that both sides of this equivalence make sense when lambda is not necessarily isotropic. And you could ask, is there an equivalence? And one thing which stops us from pursuing this question is the fact that we only know what to do at smooth Legendrian.
Okay, so this tells us sort of how both sides transform when you decrease lambda, make it smaller. So, so to compare them, it's basically enough to compare them for sufficiently large lambda. In particular, any lambda. Here, any lambda, I mean sub-analytic, isotropic, is contained in the conormal. Let's start this. Or a triangulation. S. So morally speaking, you just project lambda to the zero section and have a triangulation compatible with that. Look back. Okay, so let's go. So the sheaves with singular support along this union strata, the normal strata, that's the same as sheaves which are constructible with respect to the stratification. And when S is a triangulation, this is basically just perfect complexes over S. So S regardless of the poset of strata.
Apparently, everyone must be a pain about what is a triangulation.
So, right, so what is a triangulation? Triangulation, so this means, so it means you have a simplicial complex T map from T to M. This is a homeomorphism, and F restricted to every open simplex is smooth embedded. Real embedded, yes. And all yeah, so F is homeo and real embedded. I think that's the definition. Great, so now we'd like to do the same calculation on the high category side. So is graphic high category T star M stopped along this union to conormals the same thing as perfect complexes over S. So let's draw a picture. I'm drawing them sort of wavy because this is a real analytic triangulation, but it's somehow, okay, it's very important I wrote F restricted every open simplex is a smooth embedding, not F restricted every closed simplex. These simplices can have pretty terrible cusps near the boundary.
We have cusps.
Well, you can, so in 2 dimensions, like in the picture I drew, you can have 2 of these edges which come together. You have 2 different edges which come together to the same vertex with the same tangent vector. So somehow, if you just draw some picture, assuming that the triangulation is smooth, then it might be hard pressed to argue that that picture is actually relevant to the general situation. Okay, so there's sort of 2 Lagrangian sets of Lagrangians you might consider here. So L, so for sigma and S simplex, L sigma small is conormal of a small ball around any point sigma. So for example, these guys are examples of L sigma small. color. Okay. L sigma big is the conormal of a small inward push-off of the open star of sigma. So that looks like this. So this is L sigma big here. L sigma big of this vertex is that. And then L sigma big of this edge is this. Sorry, I mean it's the conormal of the disk whose boundary I drew. These guys are obviously conormals of balls by definition. The L sigma bigs are less obviously conormals of balls. In fact, we don't know how to prove they're conormals of balls. This open star is, of course, contractible. There's this canonical way of smoothing the boundary. Let me not talk about how to do that, but even though the boundary is, of course, a horribly singular object, there is a canonical way to define a small inward push-off. You get a smooth submanifold boundary, it's contractible, but that does not, those two conditions do not imply that it's a ball. We certainly expect it's a ball. Fortunately, it doesn't matter for the calculation we need to do because we're allowed to multiply by t star 0, 1 and stabilize our Lagrangians by multiplying by them and by a fiber. And then this region, you multiply it by a ball. And the H-cobordstone theorem tells you if you take one of these contractible open sets with smooth boundary and multiply it by a high-dimensional enough ball, then it becomes a ball. So that allows us to do some calculations. So for instance, L sigma big to L tau big. This is Z sigma is contained in tau and 0 otherwise. So that's looking very much like this perf S. We could only show that the L sigmas generate. L sigma bigs generate. I should also say that, okay, looking at this picture, it's sort of geometrically clear what to expect. L sigma big and L sigma small should be the same thing in the category. You just take L sigma small and flow outward, that's positive wrapping, you eventually converge to L sigma big. That's another thing which we didn't actually, we found that the path of least resistance toward the proof of the theorem did not involve making that vague statement actually precise. So yeah, we don't actually know an isotopy from L small to L big. And again, it's this issue of the triangulation could be really singular.
But with the it seems like you don't ever actually reach the boundary. I mean, those pictures you drew.
Yeah, but you have to travel somehow transverse to, there are all these strata here. You somehow have to travel transverse to them. And for high dimensions, this could be really, really bad. I mean, you could say, well, maybe I just write down the isotopy I want in T, and then I take its image under F, but of course, this map is pretty horrible. And derivative can be very degenerate. So,
Ridiculous way of saying how bad. The thing you run into is smooth Poincare. That's how bad.
Okay. So it's a little bit unfortunate that we don't have, that's not so easy to show this, that these are the same, because we can calculate the Helms between the L bigs. On the other hand, it's pretty obvious, well, maybe not obvious, but it's easy given the results of my previous talk that the L sigma small generate. So why is that? So what did the generation result in the previous talk say? It says that to generate this, you need the copores and the linking disks of this. So the cocores, although like for appropriate Weinstein structure, those are just the fibers. And L sigma, in fact, you just need one fiber for every component. And those fibers are just the L sigma smalls for a top simplex. How do you get the linking disks? Well, imagine what happens when, say, I take the L sigma small for, say, codimension 1 sigma, and I push this ball sort of inward to isotope it to be the ball whose conormal is L sigma small over the top simplex. Well, at infinity, there's this time where when the isotope becomes sort of tangent to this codimension 1 simplex. At that time, at infinity, you're passing the Legendrian boundary of this transversely through this conormal to this stratum. And this wrapping exact triangle tells you that when you do that, the effect in the Foucault category is just coning by the linking disk. So this produces a cone between L sigma smalls whose cone is the linking disk. A map whose cone is the linking disk. Okay, so anyway, let me. Yeah, so if you calculate a few more Hahns, you can deduce from this that the L bigs generate, and then you get the right category. Anyway, morally speaking, not much is going on. Here it's similar to this equivalence on the sheet category, but there's some technical things. That's somehow what I wanted to explain there. Okay, so in order to, now let me say sort of more precisely how to go from these properties and their calculation for stratifications to the resultant binary equivalence. So we say a microlocal Morse theater is functor from singular isotropics inside Koester bundle categories lambda to C lambda satisfying two axioms. First, if you plug in conormal to triangulation, you get for S of triangulation. Okay, in fact, I mean this. I mean this at the functorial level. So, you know, the refinement functors between two triangulations are correct, and the higher homomorphies as well. And second, this map lambda prime C lambda is a quotient objects dp for p and lambda prime minus lambda. So I should tell you what these guys dp are. So if f for m to r is a function, and df intersected lambda intersected f inverse of AB is just a single point P, and its transverse intersection, then its dP is a cone of some canonical object associated to F. to define these guys, you choose stratification S, for which these sets are constructible.
The psi is an object, dp is an object in an arbitrary category. C
of lambda, yes.
Yes.
So I'm defining. Yeah. So I'm defining. So dp will be the image in C of lambda prime of some object in a category of C of n star S for some stratification S, which sort of refines lambda.
Okay.
So I choose S for which this is constructible and lambda is constructible. For these and lambda, both these level sets. The point is that this somehow we know is the sheaf category, and one, this indicator function of this corresponds to the constant sheaf on this set in this category. So it's whatever it has to be for this to correspond to that sheaf. So remaining, I'm going to do some applications of this equivalence. So first,
Sorry,
yes.
you just gave a definition?
Yes. Right. So to prove the result. Okay. So first of all, it's clear. Maybe it's not clear to you right now, but since from the definition, it's clear that there's at most one of these guys. That this microlocomorph theater is unique, because this tells you, I mean, it's fixed on stratifications, and any lambda is sort of smaller than some stratification, and this tells you how to go from what the functors are. So then to show this equivalence between graph category and sheaf category, you verify the two axioms, and I essentially already told you how to do this. So the first, I at least stated the ingredients.
And you verify the axioms for both?
Yeah. So the first axiom is, well, we know what sheaves with singular support on conormal is. I did this calculation for the chi category to show it's also per S. And this is on the chi side, it's the stop removal, and well, I didn't say anything about how to prove it on the sheaf side. Oh, so applications. So suppose X is Einstein manifold, and X embeds as a hypersurface, Liouville hypersurface, in the cosphere bundle of M. So then you can look at X, I'll call it X plus, equals small positive wave push off of X. And I want to consider the cotangent bundle stopped along two copies of X, the original one and this positive push off. So to make the theorem applicable, we really have to stop along the core. It's the same thing. Yesterday, so this is the core x and cx plus core x plus. So we look at this graph category T star m stopped along cx union cx plus, and the theorem says this is the same as sheaves with singular support along the set. Right. Now I claim that there's a fully faithful embedding of the graph category of x in here. So to justify that, draw hardly an adequate picture, but it's at least.
So what's C a core?
This is the core. Yeah. This is now a singular isotropic. So if this is T star m, and this is the cosphere bundle at infinity, this is core of x, and this is small positive push-off, then there is in here an embedding like this of x cross T star 0. And that gives you this boundary. And the reason it's fully faithful is that the wrapping is stopped. So if I take a Lagrangian inside x cross, so first of all, there's the Knuth embedding, w of x cross T star 0, 1. That's fully faithful. Now the map from the category of x cross T star 0, 1 into this partially wrapped category of T star m, that's fully faithful because these two copies of the core of x stop all of the wrapping. So if you have Lagrangian inside here and it tries to exit, it exits along the exit set of the boundary. And the exit set of this boundary of this Liouville sector is two copies of the core of x. Well, there's this one here and this one here. And so if you add those as stops, Lagrangians exit and then they immediately see this. See another stop and just converge to that. So this defines for you for this special class of Weinstein manifolds, which is hypersurface embedding. This defines a full subcategory of the sheaf category, which is your category. And in fact, you can even say more explicitly exactly which sheaves you get. Say one more thing. I hope I state this one correctly. So suppose you have a Legendrian inside the cosphere bundle of Rn. So in most of my talk, lambda has been closed singular isotropic. Now it's actually a smooth Legendrian. In fact, let me suppose it's a connected smooth Legendre. So then it has this linking disk. Linking disk. And so you can look at this algebra. The graph Floer cochain from G to itself. So this is an algebra defined using Floer theory. It's usual Lagrangian Floer theory.
So this is still thinking of T star as n as an int Liouville sector?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we don't really need n. The end here, I could just take a big ball and it would be an honest Liouville sector, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah. So this is an algebra defined using Lagrangian Floer theory, but it's also they're expected to be isomorphic to Gendrian contact homology algebra of D. So, a corollary of this result is that category of augmentations, this algebra is equivalent to sheaves. Okay, this is sheaves with singular support along lambda on Rn with sort of stock at infinity equal to 0. And rank 1 microstock. Rank 1. Microstock along lambda. So why is this true? Well, what is this Frey category of T star Rn with the stop? Okay, we know it's generated by fibers and linking disks. In fact, you just need a single fiber and a single linking disk. It's just generated by these two objects. And if you consider the subcategory of stuff with vanishing stock at infinity, that's basically saying you're orthogonal to one of them. So you just need to know that you're what you are is a module over the other one. And this microstock having rank 1 is the same as, well, it's saying that you're an augmentation rather than just some finite dimensional module over this algebra, module of rank 1. Okay, so I think that's not good.
Are there any questions? I have a question, just to pursue what I was asking before. So you said it's the ST empty set P, but so what is ST empty set P as a sheaf on M?
Right, so pick a base point. I guess your base point is P.
Yeah.
Then the stock at a given point Q, it's the chains on the path space of paths from P to Q.
And so you're saying, and so that's supposed to be a compact object?
Yes, that's a compact object. And yeah, I don't have a one-line answer for why that's a compact object. I mean, somehow.
Any other further questions? Okay, so let's thank you.